Guys, happy Wednesday. Just a quick direction video today to get you started. So yesterday you guys worked on looking at titles of poems, right? And thinking about what does the title mean before I read? How does my meaning of the title change afterwards? Then you also looked at those connections, right, between different lines of how do different lines of poetry connect and how do they tell a story? And so today, as you're writing your own poems, I want you to keep thinking about those same things. You want to understand that all parts of the poem work together to create meaning. And so I have a little bit of a challenge for you today. So you're going to be writing a haiku, okay? And this is one of the most famous poems to write. A lot of you've probably heard these before. You know what these are. Maybe some of you have even written them before. But these are very, very popular types of poems. And the reason that this is a challenge is that haikus are short, right? If you look here, a haiku poem has 3 lines. The first line has 5 syllables, the second has 7, and the last has 5. I'll come back to that and explain that in just a minute. But they still communicate a story or paint a picture, right? So going back to I can understand all parts of a poem work together to create meaning. I don't want you to turn in a poem that doesn't have a meaning, right? I want you to turn in a poem that communicates a story or a message, right? And so that's why this is a little tricky. So we're going to look at 2 examples here. So the first one is called An Old Silent Pond. I am also going to have you guys do titles. I've been having you do that anyway. But try and maybe be a little creative with your title today. Because we looked at how titles change as we read. So maybe you want to have a title that when your reader looks at it the first time, they think one thing, then after they read, they realize that the title might mean something different. So this is An Old Silent Pond. An old silent pond, a frog jumps into the pond. Splash, silence again. So as you can see, it's short, right? Short and sweet, but tells a story, right? I have a picture in my head of what's going on. I know what's there and what's happening, and that is my challenge for you today. I also want you to kind of, oh, sorry, guys. I want you to look at this first one, how they did a dot, dot, dot. They did a splash, right? An onomatopoeia. So it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be completely normal. You can add in some of those poetry pieces that we've talked about if you would like to. The second one is called The Lamp Wants Out. And it goes, the lamp wants out. Cool stars enter the window frame. So again, right, we talked about yesterday that sometimes you have to rearrange to make meaning. So for this one, you might have to do that, right? Cool stars enter the window frames. You hear the story, right? The lamp went out and then they were able to see the stars or the window frame. So this doesn't have to be like a long story or a deep story, but just something where I have an idea of what you're talking about. You're not just, listing items. You're not just saying like bathroom, bedroom, my house, right? Like you want it to be telling some sort of story. Really quickly before we end here, let's go back to syllables. So 575. So that means you would tap this out, right? An old silent pond. So there's 5. Ready? A frog jumps into the pond. 7. Splash. Silence again. Right, so that's what a syllable is. It's when you're counting how many beats it takes. Okay, so 5, 7, and then 5. If you are struggling, so today this is what your doc looks like. Very blank. But if you are struggling with topics, I'm going to encourage you to head back to this free verse worksheet that I gave you. If you go to Classroom under classwork, it's under teaching day 24, right here. All of these topics you can use in a haiku. So there's 10 options here. So if you're really struggling to come up with something, I'd recommend you use this. Okay, I am around for office hours from 9 to 10 today and again from 12:30 to 1:30. So please let me know if there's anything I can do for you in that time. I will talk to you guys soon.